Hello everyone, it's Kevin Jackson. I'm here with the AT&T Business Retail Solutions General Manager, Phillip Hartfield. Phillip, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
For taking the time out of your busy day to come talk to us about the retail industry. Just a question, what does all that entail, this retail vertical?
Sure. So the retail vertical is really encompassed of kind of three primary categories: retail, restaurant, hospitality. We also have a very mature grocery category as well that we focus on. And then we've got other subcategories like cruise lines and casinos, and online pure play.
So one of the biggest things that I've heard about in the news is that the customers in retail are really expecting more. Their expectations are rising quickly. How do you address this change across all these different verticals that you're operating in?
Sure. So what I'd ask is think about your own experience as a consumer, right? You're looking for new ways to interact with brands. You're looking for more seamless ways to peruse and purchase products, right? Which is opening up whole new lines of business and fulfillment options for customers across the retail category. This is why you see kind of this emergence of buy online, pick up in store, buy online, ship to home, so forth and so on. So it is creating a lot of complexity, quite candidly, for the industry, but if it's done right, it is delivering a very unique and more personalized consumer experience, which is driving brand loyalty across the industry.
But wouldn't this, delivering this experience require more investment from a, traditionally very narrow margined operation?
Sure.
I mean, what do retailers have to do to enhance this experience?
Sure. So there's this whole concept that we're constantly talking to customers about and collaborating on, and it's really telco versus platform, right? We're moving away from investments in point solutions in terms of network services, Wi-Fi, whatever the case might be, into more of an evolving kind of network platform that evolves with consumer experience. So there are not necessarily incremental investments that need to be made every step of the way, but you create a more dynamic network that works more efficiently and can more, in an agile fashion, kind of respond to kind of evolving consumer demands, new lines of business, new fulfillment options, and the like.
Well, if you're going to build this platform, there must be some key components of that in order to drive this experience. Can you give me an idea of what those components are?
Yeah, of course. So first, what I would tell you is, if you look at all of the kind of industry data, right, the one thing that is consistent, and certainly there are outliers, there are leaders in terms of leveraging technology to evolve consumer experience and business operations, but one of the consistent themes in as an industry as a whole is consumer expectations continue to outpace the investment that the industry is making to meet those consumer expectations. So let's talk about a few areas. First and foremost, you have to have that, again, network foundation, that whole idea of a platform, right? So we're talking SD-WAN, we're talking wireless backup from a failover perspective. From an in-store network perspective, Wi-Fi continues to be kind of an expectation amongst consumers. And then in terms of technology that exists within the store that helps facilitate a more unique consumer experience, right? Interactive digital signage. Think of self-serve kiosks that you interact with, whether it's in a retail location, a restaurant location, self-serve check-in at a hotel, whatever the case might be.
Right.
All of these technologies that work in concert with this dynamic platform environment to change the customer experience.
Well, one thing we were talking about earlier about these networks and the amount of data that's going over, but you also mentioned that the content is important as well. How does that fold into this whole experience thing?
Sure. So content is absolutely important from an experience perspective. I would also tell you that it's probably one of the areas where there is the biggest upside potential to really deliver a unique consumer experience, right? So once you have all of these digital assets within an environment where a consumer can automate certain functions, they can shop for themselves, for example, if they're just coming in for a quick transaction. You can also use those digital platforms to display content that's consistent with the brand experience that you're trying to deliver. So let me give you an example. You're a high-end retailer.
Right, okay.
And you want a high-end clothing retailer, for example, right? And you want your customers to truly understand where those textiles are sourced from, right? And how the whole outfit is kind of put together and manufactured, right? And so you can take some of that content that you create or a company like AT&T Warner Media creates, right? Okay. And you can integrate that into the actual shopping and brand experience when someone is in the store.
So that's one area that you wouldn't really connect with retail, but there's another. It's that this robotics things. I understand you guys are really jumping on robotics with these different named robots?
Sure. So it really goes to a couple of things. Number one, with the evolution of network connectivity, right? So there's a lot of talk about 5G, multi-access edge compute. It's really enabling robotics companies to innovate more. And my perspective on robotics is they're not going to replace employees in the store. What they are going to do is they are going to take over those mundane kind of repeatable tasks so that the store employees can focus more on customer service, personalization, kind of the higher end, higher value activities, right?
Okay. Well, with this myriad of things that retailers have to focus on, it seems to be a lot of things to put this platform together. If you were going to mention one thing, the number one priority for retailers in 2020, what would that be?
So it's actually the same as the number one priority in 2019, and that is inventory visibility. It is going to continue to be the number one priority because we talked earlier about new lines of fulfillment, right? And new ways that customers want to purchase with and interact with a brand. Let's say you're a brand that wants to launch buy online and pick up in store, and you don't have close to 100% inventory accuracy. That means that you may have one of your consumers purchase something online, you direct them to the nearest store, they show up in the store, product's not there, right? Horrible customer experience. So inventory visibility is going to continue to be absolutely key as these retail brands continue to expand fulfillment options. And by the way, this is one area where, like in the grocery space, robotics that you were referencing come into play, right? There are robotics companies that have robots that run up and down the aisle and continuously scan for inventory accuracy, number one, pricing accuracy, planogram compliance. It's one area that highlights that inventory visibility and accuracy continues to be kind of a key driver across the verticals that we support.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to go through these priorities for retail. So thanks a lot, and I'll be keeping up with all the changes.
That's great. Thanks so much, Kevin.
All right.